recovery, but I didn't think it was a fumble either, but apparently they did, So, anyways, I tell you what, we bring up Bernie Kosar. When I saw that play in slow motion, the first thing that popped in my head was Lloyd Burris back in like 89 or whatever, because that was the kind of play where you get the arm ripped back on the sack like that, and you tear the ligaments in your throwing elbow, and then everybody would have got Johnny Fever a lot sooner than they were waiting for,
Oh, really? I mean, there was people that were tweeting or whatever saying, why don't they put Manziel in, and
he would have got murdered. He would have not have done any better.
Hoyer had committed, a cardinal sin or something out there, and all he was doing was, missing plays, but that happens to everybody.
Exactly. And you set me up perfectly, because I've got some numbers for that here in a minute. But go ahead, finish your point.
Well, it's just magnified because it was against a team that was 0-6.
I know. Trust me, and I wish that we weren't talking about that either. I wish they would have beat them, but they didn't, and it is what it is. But you're right.
Well, it's one of the few games out of a season that I actually pick as a winner. So,
as a winner, yeah.
I'm really disappointed.
I know. You had that one as one of the four before the season that you had them circle. Let me go, since you're on the phone with me here, let me go over some stuff here. Like, as I said, I did some research, and I was looking because there was such a swing after last week to this week between the media, mostly the media, and a lot, I don't want to say a lot, because I said yesterday, it's probably about 15, 20% of the fan base that I've seen through all the people that we deal with that have mentioned, Manziel and the quarterback this week. It's a lot in the media. And number one, in general, week to week, the importance of a quarterback is slightly overstated. Granted, you can't have a terrible one, but you don't necessarily need a great one to win week to week in the NFL. You need a good quarterback that's not going to cost you
But you got to
games.
understand, they get all the credit when they win, and they get no credit
and all
when they
the
lose.
blame when they lose. Exactly. First thing I'm going to do before we go into this, into every quarterback, is here's a couple of quarterbacks. And this is, I only went back over the last 3 seasons, and I just took 3 quarterbacks that are near the top right now, and one of their bad games over the past couple seasons. Drew Brees in 2012 had a performance where he went 28 of 50 with no touchdowns and 5 interceptions and a rating of 37. They went to the Super Bowl that season, and that was a game that Drew Brees had during a Super Bowl season. I'm just saying, imagine if Brian Hoyer came back 28 for 50, no touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Imagine what we'd be talking about here the next day. He wouldn't have made it through the game. Tom Brady, we've seen the struggles that he's had. He's had a couple of games.
They were calling for his head earlier this year.
Exactly. He's had a couple just in the past 2 seasons where he's averaged 18 of 38, no touchdowns, an interception, less than 5 yards per attempt, of 50 quarterback rating. Tony Romo 2 years ago, 18 of 35, 200 yards, 3 interceptions, a 66 quarterback rating. So, just saying, these are some of the guys that are at the top now. But here's what surprised me. And this is not really just about Brian Hoyer, but it's just kind of about football in general and quarterbacks, is how many of the great quarterbacks, a lot more than you think they do. Like, Eli Manning is amazing. He has, what I did is I went and found some research by Pro Football Reference, and what they did is they took every quarterback from, and this is a more recent look, they took every quarterback and rated all their games from 1998 up until the beginning of this season. So basically during the time that the Browns have been around, for the most part, the new Browns. So they went through and they filed everyone, and they took your game, and here's how they broke it down. Every quarterback's game was they looked at the quarterback rating, and they broke it down: outstanding, excellent, average, and poor. Anybody with a rating under 66 was rated as poor, or if they had a completion percentage of 30% or less, 0% touchdowns, or more than 10% of interceptions in any game. So they were pretty liberal with the standards for what made a poor game. And even with them being generous to the quarterbacks, let's look at Eli Manning. He's at the top of this list. Since 1998, Eli Manning has thrown more bad games based on a sub-66 quarterback rating than any quarterback in the NFL. He started 150 games, the most of any quarterback during that stretch. He has averaged 5 bad games per season, and he averages 30% of his regular season games being subpar to bad. That's amazing. Now, his teams managed to win some of those games, but it shows that there's a guy that people say is franchise quarterback, gets franchise money, and to see that percentage, you're like, wow. I mean, averages 5 bad games as a quarterback per season. I mean, that's not one here or there. I mean, that's a guy who's won MVPs and been in there. I'm just saying. Peyton Manning, here's a guy. Peyton Manning's one of the best there is. He's played 238 games in his career. He's had 30 absolute stinkers. He averages 2 bad games per football season. And this is the best quarterback in the NFL. And I mean, I could literally go through each and every quarterback and give you their percentages and all of that. But when you look at, here's what my favorite stat here is the average bad games per season. And I'm going through names like Brady and Peyton Manning and Breeze. They're all at anywhere from 2 to 3 and above bad games per season. You would never think that because you think season to season they stand above the rest. But I told you guys yesterday, I got really curious about wanting to dig in and see, because think about it. And I did some research. I looked back at like the 89 Browns. You know, that was the year that the third year of the 3 that they went to the AFC Championship game against the Broncos. That was Bud Carson's first season. And, you know, Bernie Kosar had a game during that season. Now, all everybody remembers is it was another playoff season. It was part of the great, you know, Browns era of the late 80s. Bernie Kosar, Bud Carson, they blew out the Steelers 51-0. Bernie had a game during that season where it was a pitiful completion percentage. It was like 30-some%. He passed for like 100 yards, threw a couple of picks. Offense looked terrible. Browns as a team turned the ball over like 6 times or something like that. But nobody in the world would remember that because they remember the sum of the parts. And so I laugh at the week to week of this because, you know, Brian Hoyer's a great example this week. Literally 6 days ago, people are arguing whether they should drop $50, $60, $70 million on Brian Hoyer and trade John Manziel like yesterday. See if we can get a bag of balls for the kid or something. And literally 1 game later, how many people flip-flopped on that, especially in the media? I was absolutely amazed. I'm like, come on, guys.
Well,
come on, man.
Go ahead. When Kosar was having his bad season in '93, do you remember any of the media calling for Vinny Testaverde?
No. Well, you know what? I will be honest. And then the only reason I can't remember this like real, like living during it, but I remember it doing a lot of reading of books of that time area and reading old newspaper articles and research that there were some. I do believe there was a couple of the beat writers that may have been not necessarily beating that bandwagon, but you got to remember, Lombardi was working the media hard. He was the one that went behind everybody's back and sat down Art Modell, him and Belichick, and they had the hit piece on Bernie. They literally took all of his bad plays from the season, put them all together, and then said, hey, Art, you've really got to sit down and watch this. And then Art watched it and goes, wow, I didn't even realize it. And they schnookered Art Modell into being an idiot. And that really, more than anything else,
the thing I remember most
Brown's
was
history.
Jim Donovan on his show or on his Channel 3 News or, you know, the sports section.
Yeah.
After they had benched Bernie, you know, he said, well, it's about time, you know, I've been wanting Testaverde since he got here. You know, and that's the thing the problem I have with media, you know, is that they don't say that kind of thing like out front, but as soon as it happens, they jump on the bandwagon.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I'm with you. I can't stand that. That's why I'm always like, come on, be transparent. If you're wrong, just say you're wrong. I respect a guy that just goes, man, I couldn't have got that more wrong than a guy that tries to lie and explain to you why he knew it all along. And you're like, come on, man. Why are you?
The Browns game Sunday is a perfect example. I
know where you're going. I know where you're going with this.
On the red zone. Okay?
Yeah.
All week long. I mean, it's a regular show on Wednesday, but they show it periodically through the week. And just to make sure that I was getting my back straight, I watched it a couple of times. And all week long they said, "Oh, this is a cakewalk. They have no wins. They have the 30th ranked defense. This should be a piece of cake."
Right.
And then right after the game, they come on and they say, "Well, you should have known that this was a trap game." It's like, come on. Which one is it? Is it the cakewalk or is it a trap?
No, seriously, it's an art form in Cleveland for media. They have it's. I laugh. It's amazing. It is an art form how they can change what they said in the past. Like, they can literally go, "Yeah, man, the Browns are going to win this game by 50 points," and then on Monday they'll be like, "Yeah, who told you that the Browns were going to lose? I did." And you're like, "No, I didn't." They're like, "Yes, I did. Don't look at the man behind the curtain."
Exactly.
He's don't look at the man behind the curtain over there. That's why yesterday or the other day when I got mad.
It's every media thing in this town.
I got mad. That's why I said, listen, at least you guys, if you want to you just go pull up yesterday's show. Go pull up last week. If you want to prove that I said something, it's right there for you to throw it back at me. So I have to be accountable for everything I say, and they do too. But you know what? Here's the thing: if you call somebody out, they'll just block you. They'll just cut you off, and they'll move on with their life. So, anyways, but Bruce, I appreciate the call, man.
I don't want to mention people by name or anything, but that Nick Camino guy.
Oh,
he has
why
got
we
to
should?
be the worst.
Here we go.
He has got to be the worst. I don't want to call him a
no,
homer.
Not the worst. He's not the worst. There's a lot of worse. So I'm just going to put that out there.
He's beyond a homer. I mean, this
well,
guy
you gotta
would
understand.
drive
Let's just
you
be fair.
to Jacksonville
but Bruce,
to watch the
people
game,
make
and
a
as
living.
soon as they lose, he'd leave you there.
I will say this: people do make a living, and he does work for the flagship station of the team. So when it comes to the Indians, he may have to be a bit over the top with the homerism because it's his job. And I know it's not fair, but I get that aspect of it. I do.
Well,
There's
you
a
can't
difference
really
to
go
me.
there either because Pete Franklin worked for him, and he was the first one to
And
tell you
that's
that
the
they
difference.
stunk.
Exactly. And that's why I love being where I'm at, because I don't not beholden to anybody, so I can call you all out on the garbage, and I don't have to worry about it, man. So
I can remember many a night where Pete Franklin said, "Hey, look, the team stinks, let's, do like a eulogy or something here for them, and if you don't like it, cut my check and I'll leave."
Well, see, but that's the difference is that back then, the media, people respected the few people that were in. The guys like Franklin had all the respect in the world, and if they said something, fans listened. Nowadays, the teams control the media, they control the message, they control everything, and if they don't like your media...
that bad media makes bad fans.
Oh, yeah, where'd you hear that? I'm
heard
just
it
saying.
on your show, actually.
That's
but,
right.
It's a true statement.
No,
I mean,
it is.
You just look around Cleveland, these people like, on a different radio station, they're 24 hours, they do the Browns. People listen to that station. They obviously believe that the Browns are something more than a 5-win team.
I'm telling you. Hey, listen. You're talking to the guy who spent 45 minutes previewing the World Series yesterday while people are looking at me like I've got a third eye on my forehead. So
exactly,
it is what it is, man.
I'm Bruce, just thinking that, the media in this town is just totally, I don't want to say, bass backwards, but, they are, because they don't tell you the truth.
Thank you. We know this, Bruce, and so do a lot of people listening, my man. I appreciate it. Hey, I've got to roll. Thank you for the call, buddy.
Not a problem, J-Rod.
Great phone call, my man, Bruce. Yeah, and getting back to what we're going to have Dan Wismar up here just momentarily after the news, but kind of wrapping up we got off topic a bit at the end of that call. Wrapping up what I was saying, though. Look, and this is legit, and I could show you guys the charts. They get technical and all that, but looking at the quarterbacks, every quarterback in the NFL, it's really amazing. We talk about it, whether you're talking fantasy football or real life football. There's a group of 3 or 4 or 5 first-tier quarterbacks. Then everybody else kind of tiers out after that. I think most people have Brady, Rivers, Peyton, Drew Brees, Andrew Luck's starting to climb up into that category, even though he's got less of a body of work, but he's definitely right there. Tony Romo's putting himself there for them. Actually, you know what? One of the things that I found looking at this research is about Tony Romo, the fact that